Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kelly, and for today's video I'm going to be doing a fall book recommendations video slash my fall TBR. Now, I feel like I have so many categories here and I would split them up into like romance, fantasy, and stuff, but I don't have enough to kind of split them up, so this video might be a little bit all over the place. So I'm sorry for that. But I'm going to do my recommendations first, and then we'll get into my very overwhelming fall TBR. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all the books that I want to get to in the fall, because fall is very short. I don't know why fall is so short. Like, can we make fall longer? Because I feel like it definitely is the shortest season, and it's my favorite season. So I really wish it was longer and I had more time. But yeah, so we're going to get into my recommendations. So the first books I want to talk about, I don't own these physically. I read them all on my Kindle, and they are any and all Frida McFadden books. So she writes kind of, they're like mystery, thriller. I don't know if I call it thriller. I call it more like mystery. So the ones I recommend, the ones that I have read from her so far, are The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret, which those are companions, so you would read The Housemaid first and then The Housemaid's Secret. And then I also really loved Never Lie by Frida McFadden. That book was so good. And then I'm trying to think of the other one I read. Oh, The Inmate. The Inmate by Frida McFadden was so good. The plot twist at the end was crazy. So yeah, I definitely recommend any Frida McFadden books if you want like a good thriller book to read in the fall. I feel like thrillers are so perfect for the fall time. Yeah, The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret were so good as well. I really loved those books. So basically in those books you're following, I forget her name already, I'm bad with names, but she is looking for a job, and there's a reason why she can't really work in, like, she doesn't get approved for other kind of jobs, and one day she gets a message from somebody saying that they want her to be their housemaid, and she actually ends up living with them, and upstairs in like this creepy attic place, and it ends up locking from the outside instead of the inside. And the book is so creepy. There's so many twists and turns. So yeah, I really loved that book. And The Housemaid's Secret was also really good as well. I think I liked The Housemaid's Secret just a little bit better than The Housemaid, but they were still like 4-star reads for me. So yeah, I definitely recommend Frida McFadden books. I need to get the physical copy of those. I haven't yet. I read them on my Kindle because they were so short, and they're also on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, I definitely recommend downloading her books because they're amazing. Alright, now we're going to get into my physical books that I can show you. I don't know if there's any other Kindle books that I would recommend. If you guys want to see like a Kindle recommendations video, like Kindle Unlimited books that I love, let me know in the comments. I can definitely do that for you guys. So yeah, let's get into the physical fall recommendations. Now these necessarily don't like take place in the fall, they just give me fall vibes. We're just going off of vibes here. So the first book I have is Still Beading by Jennifer Hartman. This is a dark romance, so I am begging you to please check your trigger warnings before reading this book, because like the first 25% is very dark. There are dark things that happen. And yeah, just please don't go into this book blind. Definitely go look up trigger warnings to make sure that you can read this book. Very dark, but the story is so beautiful, and I'm not even kidding you guys. I think about these characters on a daily basis. I definitely think I need to reread this book soon, so I might do it this fall. Even though, you know, I have enough books, might as well just do a reread while I'm at it. So in this book you are following Dean and Cora. I feel like I've talked about this book a lot, so you guys have probably heard me talk about it before. And Dean and Cora hate each other. They have known each other basically not their whole lives, but they've known each other since they were in school. And Dean is marrying Cora's sister Mandy. And one day Cora is at a bar and she ends up losing her keys. Yeah, her keys, right? Or no, her wallet. She ends up losing her wallet because she has to find like a ride home, and she has no money to pay for a cab. So she ends up calling everybody on her phone list, and nobody's picking up, and the last person that she has to call is Dean. So she calls Dean and asks Dean to come pick her up. He says of course he's on his way, so he comes and gets her, and they end up getting kidnapped. and they basically have to try and get out, and they have to go through things that are just so dark, which is why I say please check your trigger warnings. But the other like 50 to 75% of the book, I'd say like 60% of the book, is them healing from it, and the healing in this book is so beautiful. I don't know, I just loved everything about this book. So good. I definitely recommend it, but like I said 1,000 times already, please check your trigger warnings. All right, moving on. Next is Ghosted by J.M. Darhauer. This is a second chance romance. You are following Kennedy and Jonathan. And Jonathan is basically like this big actor. He plays in like the Superman movie. And so you get like the past timeline, like when they met in school. And they're like these really cute like journal entries that she writes that are just so beautiful. And then it goes to the present time where she's currently working at a grocery store raising her kid on her own, and he tries to come back in her life and she's like no, and you're basically figuring out like what happens between them. And this book was so good. If you've ever listened to the song Tolerate It by Taylor Swift, this book, so good. I definitely recommend it. I love it and I love them. And normally, why is this not focusing? There we go. Normally, I'm not a fan of kids in books, but the kid in this book added so much to the story, and I loved her. She was so cute. So I recommend that book as well. And then I talked about this series in my summer book recs, but I feel like you could read these any time of year because they're small town romances. This is the second book in the series. It's my favorite. It's Heartless. It's following Cade and Willa. The first book is Flawless. So there's Flawless, Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless. I haven't read Reckless yet. I'm going to be reading that really soon because the last book in the series comes out in October, which is called Hopeless, which is following Beau, and I'm so excited to read Beau's book. But if you love small town romances, I definitely recommend checking out this series. The found family is amazing. The characters are so good. Yeah, this book's my favorite because I love Cade. I love Cade so much, and Willa is amazing as well. They're my favorites so far. I haven't read Reckless yet, but I definitely recommend that series if you're looking for a good small town romance. Another series I would definitely recommend is the Devney Perry series. I don't know what it's called, but there's Indigo Ridge, Juniper Hill, Garnet Flats, Jasper Vale. I feel like there's another one that I'm missing, but I'll put a picture of them up on the screen. The only ones I've read so far is Indigo Ridge, Juniper Hill, and did I read Garnet Flats? I either started Garnet Flats and didn't finish it because I think I may have got bored, or I haven't started that one yet. I can't really remember. But I do recommend that series. That series is a small town romance, like I said. And there's also a little bit of like mystery in the first book, which I really enjoyed. I feel like it didn't like overtake the plot of the book. It kind of made it better. I feel like if there wasn't that mystery aspect of the book, I wouldn't have liked it as much, but it was still a cute read, and they're very short. So if you're looking for like a short small town romance, I definitely recommend that series. Next, Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book is so good. I read this actually quite a while ago, but this is following Macy and Elliot, and it is second chance. So you get to see their past, and in the present time you see them reuniting, but you don't really know like what happened between them. You like figure it out as the book goes on, and it is just so good. They are bookworms, and I don't know, I loved it. It's such a good story, so please read this. Honestly, you could read this any time of year, but this book definitely gave me like fall vibes. Alright, next is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I really loved this book, and when I first started it, the male main character is very grumpy. So keep that in mind. He kind of really pissed me off. Like, I was like, am I gonna like him? But as the book went on, I did learn to love him, and yeah, this book takes place in Alaska. So, I don't know, it just gives me that like fall vibes. So I definitely recommend this book as well. Yeah, like I said, they don't all necessarily take place in the fall, but it's just, you know, it's really the vibes that matter. You can read any books in the fall. Alright, next I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So you are following Pip, and she ends up having to do this assignment for school, and there's this case that took place a long time ago where someone in their town died, and this person got convicted of it, but she doesn't think that it was him who did it, so she ends up reopening the case on her own, and she ends up talking to people, and a lot of stuff happens from there. This book is crazy. I also read the second book, which is Good Girl, Bad Blood. I didn't love that one as much as this one, but I still really loved it. And then the third one, I haven't read yet. I need to pick that one up soon. Next we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'm actually in the middle of this series right now. I'm on the third book, which is all in, but you are following 5 naturals. Basically, they work for the FBI and they are trying to solve cold cases. Also, the found family in this. I love found family. I think found family is my favorite trope, but the found family that these characters find within each other is just so, so good. And the plot twists that have been in these books are so crazy. Like, they get me every single time. I'm shook literally every single time it happens. Alright, now we're getting into some fantasy book recommendations. So the first one is an obvious. ACOTAR. I love ACOTAR, you guys. So I don't want to say too much. I honestly, for fantasies, I think you should go in blind. And if you are looking to get into fantasy, like if you've never read a fantasy series before or a fantasy book before, I definitely recommend ACOTAR to start, because it's very easy. Like, the system isn't too, like the magic system isn't too complicated to understand. So I definitely recommend going in a little bit blind, but you're following Feyre and a lot of stuff happens with her. So I definitely recommend you read this. So good. Next we have Fourth Wing, which I read this pretty recently, a couple months ago. And look at those sprayed edges. So beautiful. Why does my camera just not want to focus today? Or ever? Alright, moving on. So, Fourth Wing, we're following Violet, and she ends up having to become a writer when she's basically trained her whole life to be a scribe. And there's different trials that she has to go through, and she ends up meeting this guy who hates her and hates her family and is enemies to lovers. It's so good. The ending, even though it got me, but like it wasn't like shocking. Like, I could have seen like that coming from like a mile away, but it still got me. I don't know why. I guess I was just being a little dumb. But I definitely loved this book, and I'm so excited for the second one. The second one comes out in November, I think. Then there's dragons in this book, and I don't know, I really loved it, and I'm really excited to continue on. Next, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I actually just read the third book in this little series. But you are following Oriah, and she is a human living in a vampire world, and there's this thing called the Kajari, I think that's how you say it, where you have to basically do all these trials, and if you were the last one standing, you get a wish from this goddess, whatever you want to call her. And a lot of stuff happens from there. This book is so good. I love Oriah. I feel like she's one of my favorite like fantasy main characters that I've ever read about so far. She's just a badass, and I really loved her, and I loved her even more in The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I don't want to say too much on that book because I'll talk about it a little bit in my wrap-up, although I can't say too much because it's a part of a series. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end of this book, but I definitely recommend this book. If you love vampires, read it. Next I have The Ballad of Never After. So this is the second book that comes after Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was going to bring that book up, but it's a paperback and I have this hardcover, so it would annoy me to show you both of those. But this one was my favorite. So in Once Upon a Broken Heart, you are following Evangeline. I still can't tell if I'm ever pronouncing her name right. But she ends up wanting to get a wish from the Prince of Hearts because the love of her life is marrying somebody else. And he ends up asking her for 3 kisses from any person. And the story just goes on from there. And then this book, I can't say too much because it spoils what happens in Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I definitely recommend this trilogy. The third one comes out next month, and I cannot wait to read the next book. I have not been able to stop thinking about the ending of this book. The ending of this book broke me, so I'm just counting down the days till I can have the third book in my hands. I will be immediately going to purchase that when it comes out. So yeah, those are majority of my recommendations. I can't tell if I'm missing anything else. Of course, I would always recommend to read the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. They don't give me fall vibes, but they don't really give me like summer vibes. It's hard. I don't know. I feel like you could read that series any time of year. So I definitely recommend that series if you love found family. Alright. Now moving on to my fall TBR. Let me just show you how big this stack is. And this isn't even like considering all like some of these books are part of a series. So I'm very ambitious. So the first book I have here is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I don't really necessarily know what this book is about. All I know is I think that her editor dies and she talks to a ghost or something. That's all that I think I know. I could be completely wrong. But this definitely gives me like fall vibes. And the cover is so cute. Also, what are with these stickers? Like Good Morning America book club pick, and it's like stuck on there. I can't take it off. Can we not put stickers on here that don't come off? Alright. And then the 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston as well. I've heard such amazing things about this series. So I think... So it's about this girl and she ends up getting a house from her aunt, I think, that passes away. And when she goes in to her aunt's house, she ends up meeting this guy who lives 7 years in the past. So I'm really excited to read this. Like the concept of this book sounds so cool. Alright, next we have this book I have been pushing off because I don't know if I'm ready for the amount of pain that this book encompasses, I've heard. If You Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I don't really know anything about this book, but I know it's really sad. So my mind thinks it knows what is going to happen, and I don't know if my heart can take it. So we'll see if I end up reading it this fall. Yeah, I've heard this book is heartbreaking and it leaves people like really empty and sad at the end. And I already feel empty and sad with one of the books that I read this month, so that might have to wait a little bit to be read. Next we have a dark romance, and when I tell you I am absolutely terrified to read this book, I'm absolutely terrified. Haunting Adeline, okay. I don't know if I'm going to read this yet because I don't know if I have the courage to read it. So this is a stalker dark romance. Yeah. I heard this book is very dark. I've looked up trigger warnings and stuff. This book is just so scary to me, so maybe we'll read it. I love dark romance, but this one might be a little too dark, even for me. So next we have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I don't know what this book is about. All I know is that Sarah J Maas has a little blurb up there, and I trust Sarah J Maas with my life, so I will be reading this book. So yeah, she's a prison healer. Okay, and I guess she has to fight for somebody because they cannot fight because they are sick. And this is a trilogy. I only have the first book because I've been trying to stop myself from buying a whole series before I read the first book, because what if I don't like it and I don't want to continue and then I have all the books in the series already. So I'm not the best at doing that, but I'm getting better. Okay, I'm so excited for this next one. I feel like I'm going to be reading this next one super soon. That is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is her debut book. This is her first book that she's ever written, and I've heard amazing things. I feel like everybody is talking about how good this book is, and it's enemies to lovers, I heard, and I heard this book has people like kicking their feet giggling, and that's like my favorite kind of fantasy, enemies to lovers romance book. Romantasy is just superior, I feel like, in the fall. I feel like the fall just screams like fantasy books and iced coffee. Alright, next we have Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. I only have the first book, and I have a question for anybody who has read this book. Let me know in the comments below if they are good, if I should buy the whole series or not, because I've heard mixed reviews on this. And I've heard that you have to read it before Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I have both of those books on my shelf. I didn't grab them because I already have so many books to read, and if I don't get through this, I can't read those. But let me know if you didn't love these but you think I can read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom before these, or skip this. Let me know what you think, because I've heard some people love these books and some people don't like them as much. Are they worth reading? But I have it on my TBR because I bought the first book. So next we have Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I don't know anything about this book. I just bought the second one because I've heard amazing things. So yeah, I don't know what this book is about. Like I said, I like to go into fantasies blind. I don't know why. I feel like it makes them more entertaining. I feel like I love them a lot more when I don't know a lot of what it's about. Next we have Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmer. I don't know what this book is about either. All I know is it's a fantasy romance. I think it is it young adult? I think it's young adult fantasy romance. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm really excited. I've heard amazing things. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for all of these books. Okay, next we have, okay, these are on my top priority for the fall. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I want to read the whole series. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it before fall is over, but we'll see, because it is a 8-book series, and as the books go on, they get thicker. I am going to be starting this in October 100%. The only thing of why I kept pushing this series off is because I was in the middle of a 10-book series, or 11-book series, the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, and I know this is fantasy, that is romance. I'm not going to get them confused, but I didn't want to be in the middle of a 11-book series and then be in the middle of an 8-book series. I feel like that would just really overwhelm me, so I wanted to finish that series first before I started Throne of Glass, and now that I have finished, I'm ready. I love Sarah J. Maas. I loved ACOTAR, so I already know I'm going to love this. And I've heard a lot of people like it better than ACOTAR. So I'm so excited to read this. This will definitely be my top priority series for the fall time. And then if I can manage to read Throne of Glass, this might have to wait till winter time. But I have Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I only brought the first book to show because I have a lot of books here that I have to put away after this video, and I didn't have to take down like extra books. That's why I didn't take down like any of the other ACOTAR books. The second ACOTAR book is my favorite, but I don't want to bring them all down because you have to read the first one before you read all the other ones. Anyways, Crescent City. I don't really know what this one is about. I know Throne of Glass is about an assassin. I don't know what this is about. The only thing that I've heard is that they have like guns and stuff, which is weird. So I guess the fantasy is set in like our time, I think. I don't really know too much about what this series is about, but I've heard it's a lot more complex than ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, and that a lot of people have a hard time getting through it and like understanding what's going on. So I might have to watch like people explaining it after I like get into it. This book is so thick. Also, this book is like so many pages. Like 800 pages, but look at the cover, like so beautiful. They also came out with like, look how pretty this is. They also came out with like pretty exclusive editions of this series. There's only 2 books so far. The third one is coming out in January. That's why I wanted to read these, because I feel like if I don't read them, I'm gonna get it spoiled when the third book comes out in January, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm really hoping that I can get through Throne of Glass and then start Crescent City. So fingers crossed on that. I'm so excited though for all of these books, even though it is very overwhelming. I'm like staring at the books right now and then thinking about like 8 more books or 7 more books on top of this one is a little overwhelming, but I think we can get through most of them. I might have to do some 24-hour readathons and stuff. But yeah, those are all of my recommendations and my fall TBR. I have so many other books on my shelf that I'm going to be reading. I'm a mood reader, so there's other books that aren't like necessarily like fall vibes that I want to read. Obviously, I'm still going to read my romance. I'm going to be heavy on my fantasy, because like I said, fantasy just screams fall to me. So yeah, that is the end of the video. Let me know any other fantasy book recommendations you guys have for me, or just anything that you want me to read. Even if it's for a video, if you want me to do a video of me reading it, or just anything. Give me some recommendations. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I have on my fall TBR, and definitely check out all the books that I recommended because they're really good and I think you'll really enjoy them. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys. Also, I'm sorry if some of the I'm not good at telling what books are about. I always feel like I'm gonna spoil. I feel like I say this in every video, but I don't know, I just have this inkling that I'm gonna spoil something for somebody else and I'm gonna be really upset. But I trust all of these books and I think that you will like them. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.